Welcome to the Lights Camera Pro podcast, where we interview entertainment pros about their careers and how they became successful in the industry. The secrets to their success here every week. Here's your host, Shawn Ventura.
Go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and subscribe, rate, and review. Hey everybody, welcome to the Lights Camera Pro podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Ventura, and as you know, sometimes we do movie and TV show reviews. This review today is for the Mandalorian. It is Season 2, Episode 6, The Tragedy. We see the Razor Crest heading for the planet Typhon, and we see Grogu playing with the steel ball that he loves, and Mando lets him. Mando also gets him to pull the ball from him with the Force, and he does it quickly. It's very cool for them to be using the Force like this. I don't know if the Force is supposed to be used like this, but it's kind of cute and funny. This episode is called The Tragedy, and it's a really tough episode, so buckle up if you haven't seen it, and if you have, you know what happens, and it is very sad. But we are going to get through it because Mando and Grogu have many skills and powers, and they will eventually prevail. So as they're approaching touchdown with the Razor Crest, they see the Seeing Stone, where Ahsoka Tano told him to go to and put Grogu on top so that he could find a Jedi could find him. And then he could go back to his species. Mando and Grogu are flying through the air with his jetpack over to the Seeing Stone because it's kind of rough terrain and up this mountain. And it's very cool just to see them flying through the air, and Grogu is obviously enjoying it. He looks very cute. Mando and Grogu then wait for a signal or something. He puts him down on the Seeing Stone and nothing really happens. And then all of a sudden in the distance you see the ship, which if you know Star Wars is the Slave One, it's Boba Fett's ship. And you're like, what? Why is Boba Fett's ship here? I know that they teased him in the first episode of the season, but I didn't really know he's going to be flying in his ship or he'd show up in this episode. You're just kind of surprised. Didn't he die in Return of the Jedi when he fell into that sand monster's mouth? I mean, I think he's dead, but obviously, well, we'll find out. All of a sudden, Grogu starts to create this force field around him that starts shooting up into the sky. It's like this bluish light. And is this the way that he will communicate with the Jedi? Is he doing something else? We don't know. Well, Mando tries to grab him so they can get away and take off because he knows that ship is from Bounty Hunter and he just landed, but he goes to grab him and bounces off the force field and falls back. He tells Grogu he will be back and runs down to meet the bounty hunter and whoever is there. And it's none other than Boba Fett, played by the same actor, Tamora Morrison. He says he wants no trouble, but he wants his armor back and he knows that Mando has it. After some discussion, Mando agrees to give him the armor back, and then another assassin appears, Fennec Shand, from an earlier episode last season, and we thought she was dead also. A spaceship filled with stormtroopers lands, and a bunch of stormtroopers get out and start to attack. Mando goes up to the Seeing Stone to try and get Grogu again, but the force field will not relent. As Boba Fett and Fennec Shand fight off the stormtroopers, Mando decides to go down and help them, and he tells Grogu that he'll be right back. Boba Fett is an older man now, and he is literally without his armor, but he still kicks some major stormtrooper butt here. He is literally like knocking out and killing and shooting 10, 15 stormtroopers. But he's being overwhelmed because they just keep coming, and so is the other assassin. Mando arrives just in time to help them before they are overwhelmed by a big stormtrooper gun. As Mando and Fennec Shand are fighting, and then another ship with another group of stormtroopers have arrived, Boba Fett goes to the Razor Crest and gets his armor. And when he comes back, he is even more powerful because he has these lasers on his wrist, and he can protect himself from the stormtroopers, and the stormtroopers start to retreat to their ship. As the two stormtrooper ships are flying away, he sets up his scope on his helmet, and from his backpack, he shoots a missile that blows up one of the stormtrooper ships, and then that ship explodes into the other ship. So he basically blows up both ships, and it's crazy, and it's super cool to see that from his backpack missile. Boba Fett is back. So now here comes the tragedy, and it's really sad. The audience is celebrating that Boba Fett is there, and Fennec Shand is alive, and Mando, and they're all working together, and they're beating the stormtroopers, and finally blow up their ships. And all of a sudden, 5 seconds later, Moff Gideon from his Imperial cruiser literally blows up the Razor Crest into dust. There's nothing left. And you're just like, what just happened? So you go from this real high to this real low in 2 seconds. As the assassins are racing to the top of the mountain to get Grogu from the Seeing Stone, Moff Gideon sends his dark troopers down to snatch Grogu, which is exactly what they do. They kidnap Grogu, who is tired from using the force field and has no power left, and Boba Fett goes after them in his ship and sees that. They take Grogu to the Imperial cruiser, which escapes by going at warp speed. Mando sadly looks at the wreckage from the Razor Crest, and he finds the steel ball that Grogu always wants and loves. He stares at the steel ball for a moment, thinking of Grogu, and he puts it into his pocket. He finds the Beskar spear and pulls it out of the wreckage. Boba Fett and Fennec both say that they will help him track down Grogu. They then fly to the planet Navarro, where Mando recruits Cara Dune to help retrieve and find Grogu. Mando also asks Cara Dune if she can get Mayfield or Bill Burr out of prison, because he used to work with Imperial forces as a sharpshooter, and he would be able to locate Gideon's cruiser. Then we go to the Imperial cruiser, and we see Gideon goes to a room where Grogu is being held, and we hilariously see that Grogu is throwing stormtroopers around the room with the Force. Gideon, in a very bizarre way, shows Grogu the Darksaber and says something like, "Do you remember this?" And then he eventually has the guards shackle him, because I assume he knows his power. So maybe these two have met before. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. It's really sad to see Grogu on the ship in shackles. He's so little. I know he's 50 years old, but he still seems like a kid the way he acts. And it makes you want Mando and his allies to go get him as quickly as possible. They will probably face off in the final episode, which is only 2 episodes away. And hopefully before the season ends, they rescue Grogu. I don't know what you thought of this episode. I mean, it was still pretty perfect. I read somewhere that Robert Rodriguez of El Mariachi fame directed this episode. I would give it a 8 out of 10 because it was just such highs and lows. It was perfectly crafted, so much conflict, and of course I can't wait to see what happens in the next episode, and I'm sure you can too. But tell me what you think of this episode. Even tell me how you would rate it from 1 to 10 in the comments if you can. Robert Rodriguez did an amazing job in the fight scenes. They were choreographed so well, and Boba Fett is so great in the fight scenes. I understand that they have to have conflict in order for our heroes to go through their journey, but this just seems like a bit much to have Grogu captured and the Razor Crest explode in 1 episode. Those are 2 totally horrible things, and it just leaves me feeling sad after that episode. Tell me what you think in the comments, and thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next episode, guys. I will see you next week. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Lights Camera Pro podcast, where entertainment pros talk about how they made their dream into a career.
Go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and subscribe, rate, and review. Thanks to Bob Juergens for the Rockin' VO and Joseph McDade for the music. All right, see you next time.